Welcome to Success in Motion. Join us as we dive deep with top leaders, entrepreneurs, and professionals, uncovering strategies to grow, scale, and succeed.
Hey, everybody, welcome back to a next episode of Success in Motion. This is Michael Bishop, your host, and I'm here with Gerald Scott. Gerald's a pretty cool guy. He started from humble background in retail sales, working at Sears, and has worked his way all the way through life to make a foundation. He's the founder and executive director of the Star Foundation. And I'll let him tell you a little bit about what that actually means.
All right,
Gerald?
welcome. Hello, everyone. Yes, I'm Gerald, and STAR Foundation is really an acronym. It stands for Services that Assist and Redeem. And what that means is we are practitioners, and we use education to bring back the lost time, lost opportunities that people have had, to really dive into their education stream. And so what we would do is we get people into very small groups of 20 at a time, and we educate the marginalized communities, homeless communities, the second chance, those are dealing with substance abuse issues, or those from the Department of Corrections with education. And it's pretty cool.
That is really cool. I used to think when I was younger, I was super naive. And I'm not saying that I'm not naive now, but I used to think that it didn't make sense why we had homeless people, especially here in America, right? I thought that homeless people chose to be homeless because we have the school system, we have so many opportunities for anybody and everybody. We've put program after program trying to get people to be contributing members of society. But as I've grown and I've learned and got to know more homeless people, it's not necessarily a choice that these people are making to be homeless, right? Nobody really, okay, most people don't want to be homeless. They want to have a stable home that they can live in. They want to have a job. They want to have all of the luxuries of life that life has to offer. But for one reason or another, they're not able to make the connection to get to where they want. And that could be anything from they went into the military and they came back and they had a bunch of head stuff going on and they just didn't know how to deal with it. They got caught up in drugs when they were young. They didn't know how to get away from it. When they were young, they didn't have a stable family and home to raise them and educate them and get them out into the world off on the right foot. And so they did the best they could with what they had. And it just wasn't a good thing. So I'm a strong advocate for education. And I really love this thing that you have put together for those underprivileged, undereducated groups of people. And I like what you're doing with that. What's one of the biggest things that you have going on right now in that sector?
So we have quite a bit, Michael. We're building a new program. We have a program that's coming up called Tenant Pathway to Excellence. Because one of the issues, there's a myriad of issues of that you just mentioned that that are directly related to those that are either couch homeless or homeless. And we feel that part of it, again, is education and lack of understanding of the system. And so what we've done is we've partnered with a local credit union. Actually, it's our oldest business partner as a credit union here in Oklahoma City. And we have put together a curriculum that will help individuals learn how to budget, learn how to get along well with your landlord, to make better decisions. And so it's a real cool 7-module program. That another thing too, you want to have safe spaces, because oftentimes part of the barrier to learning is thinking that you don't deserve to be in that space, or that space has passed you by. And so creating a safe space to learning is real cool. And so that's what we do with Star Foundation. We never have a cohort or a class that extends past 20 people.
Nice. That's pretty cool. The one of my previous guests made a comment about how the biggest obstacle that we have is between our two ears. It's not what's in front of us. It's that thing between our two ears. We get self-doubt and we think that we aren't good enough. We don't deserve it. We can't do it for some made up reason in our head. And quite often we need somebody who can draw that out of us. And it sounds like you're putting together a pretty cool program to create that space to make that happen. What is it that led you to wanting to do this nonprofit that you've created?
Well, growing up in a community where half of the community was on Section 8 housing, and then the other half of the community was what you would kind of consider low middle class or middle class. And so when you have those communities and you're going to school with some of your classmates that are from the other side and they don't have things, or they see you having things, enjoying life, a certain quality of life and they don't have and seeing it, it might be silent. You may not verbalize it, but you recognize that they're living in a lower level than what you are. And so you can either have empathy towards that or turn your head. And I am one of those that I do have a lot of empathy and I do enjoy to see people thrive. So I think somewhere in the back of my mind, those images see growing up as I said, a community where half the community is really a section in Section 8 housing. I think that was really probably the impetus to really cause me to later on start Star Foundation after going to school and learning more about marginalized communities and uh, some of the blight of that community.
I love to hear when people work their way out of a community like you grew up in. I also grew up in a community that was less fortunate. And I grew up with the mindset that if I ever made $15 an hour, which is now minimum wage in some places, if I ever made that, like I thought that that was like the golden ticket, right? I had small town mentality. I had small community thinking that I didn't need to do any more than that. And so that mentality really held me back for a number of years from reaching my full potential, thinking that I had set my goal too low. Um, and then I achieved it, and then I didn't have anything to do. How do you help people from keep from setting their goal too low, but set it beyond where they think that they can so that they can push themselves?
Good. That's a gradual process because one thing that you have to get out of your head is this idea that you're going to fix people. Sometimes that's part of the issue there is to go approach it in the wrong capacity, thinking that you're going to fix. So it's really to first build rapport and to show respect. Everyone loves respect. And so when you create
Yeah.
a atmosphere and a condition for learning that is building rapport, centrally grounded with respect, it kind of creates that platform or that foundation, if you will, for people to walk across and meet you part of the way. If they don't feel or sense that you feel superior to them in any way. One of the greatest compliments that I've ever received as when I was working in a homeless situation, working with an organization that was made me a PATH case manager, a program that assists the homeless, PATH. One of the greatest compliments I've ever had is working with an individual who had a daughter in a homeless shelter. And we're trying to get housing and get them to apply for housing and get a voucher and that sort of thing. And so I was working with and saw her just as myself. I didn't see myself as any better than she is. As you said, may have been a little bit more fortunate and had different circumstances and opportunities than she did, but I never saw myself as better, So, and I think this was before starting Star Foundation. This particular individual had a conversation with me about housing. When I walked away, she turned to the person she was sitting next to, and the person sitting next to her said, "Who is that guy?" And this particular lady said, "Oh, Gerald. Oh, that's just Gerald. He's one of us." That's one of the greatest compliments I've ever had, man. Because I
I
don't want
love
to
it.
ever feel that I'm superior or above anyone. I want to be relatable. And I think that's how you started. You build a relatable space, it's built on respect, and it grows through rapport.
I really like the way you started that, talking about how you can't fix people. And realistically, we don't need to fix people, right? Um, it reminds me of the old saying, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make him drink, right? And so if we go in with that we're going to fix you, that's like taking the water hose and shoving it down the horse's throat, right? That's not a good thing. You're going to make them sick, they're going to rebel, they're going to hate you, and they're not going to do what you want. But if you go and you just show the example of how you should be acting, who you should be, they're going to pick up on that. Just like this show is designed to show the steps of success. If you just leave the breadcrumbs, they'll follow you a lot easier than if you're dragging them or you're pushing them towards where you want them to be.
That's right. We've talked about the homeless community. It's the same, for those that are second chance, and it's again, it's not, seeing yourself as superior, but, building relationship, being relational. That's very key.
So, Gerald, you have been doing this foundation since 2011, and that's quite a track record. Most companies fail within the first couple of years. Um, if someone wanted to start a nonprofit, if they wanted to get into that space, if they wanted to help people similar to what you're doing, how would you recommend they get started?
Well, one of the things you want to do is you want to surround yourself not with people just like exactly like you, but you want to diversify your group, but you still want your group to maintain some of the same core values. So you surround yourself with thought leaders and those with high empathy that they may not see or have the same exact view you do, but you understand that there's growth in building a high performing team of people who have similar core values and that you can work with because you're mission focused. And it's really, identifying with people and drawing people that are mission focused. They have the same mission, the same idea. Some of the people in Star Foundation have been around from almost day one. We have had turnover, but we have two individuals that actually have been with me from day one, and they have grown. Both are now working for the foundation, and they're thriving, and they're also recruiting other leaders and high performing teams, just like with the same cut from the same cloth and the same identity as us. And so it's just really surrounding yourself with people that are really have have those core values that you can wrap around and build.
Yeah, that's fantastic. It's not they say it's not what you know, but who you know, right? But I think there's something a step further than that. It's not who you know, but who do you actually hang out with? They say that you are the average of the five people that you spend the most of your time with. And if those people are doing things that you don't want to be a part of, well, you're going to get sucked into that way of thinking and that doing those things. But if you find people who are aspirational that you want to be around, you're going to be inspired to do better things and to hang out, create, and do great things. And so, quite often, we don't really get to choose who our family is, but we do get to choose our friends, right? And one of some of the hardest things that I've ever had to do is decide who I want to be friends with, because there are a lot of great people in this world, but a lot of those great people are going to pull you in the wrong direction. And so I'm not telling you you can't send them Christmas presents, right? You can still be friends with them, but you do need to make sure that the majority of your time is being spent with people that you want to be more like. Have you seen that in your life, that the five people that you spend time with is who you become?
Couldn't agree with that more. You are the company you keep, and I would add to that what you said about what who you know. We there's a saying that, it's good to have strategic networking, to surround yourself strategically. But then your network really kind of needs to know something, So for us, that means being a practitioner. How can you study situations, learn situations, and learn together how to best deal and alleviate some of the situations that people go through. But absolutely, I believe 100% in being authentic. The person you're talking to right now is the same person that runs Star Foundation, which is the same person that is a husband, which is the same person who's a dad. And I think that authenticity, sort of breeds inspiration. It inspires people. People want it. People love being around authentic people, people that are bring their true self to the table every single day. And I pride myself in being authentic. And I also think that you need to surround yourself by people who are not afraid of you. They're not afraid to tell you, the Gerald, you're smelling yourself today. You need to calm down some, and are not afraid to you, but at the same time will bolster you and lift you up, and not competing with you, you know.
Yeah.
I don't, in our organization in the nonprofit world here in Oklahoma, we pride ourselves in building great rapport and great collaborations because we surround ourselves with people that have the same cause or same ideas, and so you can build coalitions like that. So you just sort of grow, and if we understand that there's strength in numbers, it's important to surround yourself with strong people.
Fantastic. So you used the word practitioner a couple times now. What does that word mean to you? Because when I think of a practitioner, I'm thinking of a nurse practitioner, a doctor, a physician, something like that. What does that word mean to you?
Yeah. Practitioner is what you've described, and then it's someone that has really studied a craft or studied an area, really researched it, done the homework on it, and in doing so, they've devised a way to actually master or to really get in and deal with those issues that they've mastered as a practitioner was, as someone that studies it and figures out a way and a route to alleviate or deal with the issue. So, for example, as for Star Foundation, we have curriculum and we study the research. We know that there's a need to build a brand. When you're talking about those that are just as involved, then you need to understand and have knowledge as a practitioner that there might be high ACE scores. There might be adverse childhood experiences, a reason for the behavior or the conduct. So a practitioner is someone that would study and understand that very thing, that this is an individual that has look at the ACE scores, look at the adverse childhood experiences, and instead of just judging the situation just by how it looks on the surface, practitioner is going to dive deep to figure out how did we get here, and then devise a path to get that person out and into thriving. That's what makes it different.
I love it. I feel like you do a good job of embodying that practitioner that you label yourself as. So, Gerald, there are many challenges that the people that you work with see on a daily basis. But I want to look at you. What is the biggest challenge you've seen getting to where you are today?
Initially, I would say funding, because that's obviously that's a word that F word that a lot of us in the nonprofit world we get our attention about funding. And then just maintaining the sustainability of high performing teams, that turnover, attrition, those are the things. If you have built a model and you have a mission and core values and you're true to those and not changing those up because the times are changing. You stay true to what you believe. That's been a challenge because you have sometimes those that come in and they may want to challenge, well, why are you doing this way? Why are you not doing that? And so it's really being patient and surrounding yourself with a team that really understands what you're trying to accomplish and can be patient of the process. So lack of patience, lack of funding, uh, and then today, of course, our environment's changing, our world's changing, and systems are changing, and so it's being able to ride those changes and be able to reinvent yourself if you have to, or get outside of the market and go into new markets and diversify your resources and your appeal. And so now, if you're a people person and if you love people and love that opportunity to be relational, then that's not such an obstacle. It's not such a barrier. But for those that it is a barrier, it is more of a struggle. So for me, the main thing is just maintaining the main thing, being patient and learning how to adapt when you need to adapt. Right now is the time you have to adapt.
You definitely need to be able to adapt in this day and age. I really liked what you said about core values, and how people come in and they try and change you. I personally have a little conflict internally about core values and change. I think change is good, but you have to have your core values, and that those core values are going to lead the change. Just because you've always done something one way doesn't mean that you should be doing it. That might not be the best way to do it, but your core values are going to guide those changes to make it make sense, right? If somebody comes in and they have a great idea, we can't be so closed-minded that we aren't open to suggestion. But those suggestions have to align with our core value. That's how we're going to get to where we need to be. Because otherwise, we're just going to we're going to keep doing the same thing that we've always done because we've always done it, and nobody knows why we do it. And it might get us somewhere, but it might not get us to the best place. But if we can use our core values as a compass to accept that change that we need in our life to get us in this ever-changing world to where we're going, that really, I think, is the key to overcoming those challenges. So next question here is a tricky one. Okay. There is a lot of talk right now about juggling work and personal life. Do you think that there's a such thing as work-life balance? And if so, what does that mean to you?
Uh, I chuckled because I would like to say there is, uh, and you strive so hard for there to be that, but the reality is that's it doesn't exist. Even the most well-meaning person that says it's possible, you just have to make every effort you can. And I've said this in another podcast. You need to make every effort that you can to strive for work-life balance. Um, I'll give you a great example. I'm off today. I'm off work today. This is my day off.
And here you
So,
are
and
on
here
the
I am
podcast working.
on podcast, right? And after I leave the podcast, I'm going to speak to an auditorium of students for graduation, and I'm off today. So,
Nice.
so in theory, there is you just do the very best you can to manage, and sometimes you have to really just put your foot down and say, you know what, my goal is to not accept any phone calls after 8. Yeah,
Yeah.
that this week it's going to be family time. You just have to put your foot down because in the world of nonprofits, it's constantly moving. You have either your clients you're working with, your staff you're working with, and so no matter how much you try to put that balance in there, it gets the nonprofit pushes against it. The call pushes against it. The passion pushes against it. So you just have to be very insistent, very intentional, and get that time back. Now, what that looks like for me is tomorrow I will take some time and I will turn the phone off. Of course, I'll still look at text messages. So, it's just I don't think it's really a thing. I have a friend that she and I both agree the same thing. We love to say in theory it is a thing. Uh, yeah.
I I think I can see your point, and I think that it is a thing that we all struggle with, right? For me, work-life balance is all about being present. If you're at home, be at home. If you're at work, be at work, and be intentional about what you're doing.
Yeah.
Don't go uh, all the time doing whatever notification pops up, right? The world's always wanting your attention. Take back that control and be intentional about what you're doing. For me, my phone goes on do not disturb at 5 o'clock every day and stays on until 8 o'clock. That's family time. At 8 o'clock, it comes back on. I can check any messages that came on during that time. But I get that time every day that I can choose to go and look at my phone, but it's not calling my attention. So I can be more focused. I can be more present. I found that if I spend 24 hours a day with my family, I can be with them all day. But if I'm not present, it does me no good. It does them no good. I can spend 2 hours a day with my family. And if I'm there present that entire 2 hours, we get such a stronger connection during that 2 hours than the 24 hours when I'm distracted by everything else. So that's my little tidbit about work-life balance, and hopefully that combined with what you said, which was great, can really uh, take us to the next level. So it sounds like things are going pretty well for you and your business. You've been doing this for quite a while. Um, and a lot of people are looking towards the future and looking how they can create passive income, how they can enhance or even replace their current active income. What are your thoughts about this topic?
So, many organizations, at least in our orbit, are driven by you know unrestricted funds and grants. Uh, but I think that one of the things we have to do is we have to really be creative, again, be adaptable and diversify. So I think today, especially as we're seeing in our political world, so many cuts, and so many organizations are absorbing those cuts. Many are ducking, hoping that they don't get cut. And so we have to diversify. So what that means is we have to be very creative. We have to have a very creative team around us. We have to utilize social media. We have to have fundraisers. We have to have golf tournaments. We have to talk to private donors. We have to really expand the reach of our donors list. We need to look at our donors list and 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 court our donors a little bit more. We need to expand outside and go into more private funding, private donations, look at some of the credit unions. In other words, we just really have to diversify and be very creative and innovative in how we look at how we deal with our bottom line and how we can project for the future. And those are the things, and that's one of the reasons why I said earlier, you have to surround yourself with a diverse group because you've got those that everything that I just said, that's their focus. You have to be able to be creative, and think about having some, teams that they're literally working with your board to maybe they're even driven by the board. Maybe you're creating a sub board to look into funding in a different way. So we've just got to really diversify and think and go beyond just only looking at grants in this case, and just diversify our funding streams.
Yeah, it's really important when you're raising capital to not be reliant on one single source of income. Because if that one donor decides, hey, I don't have the funds to do the normal donation that I give, you're left there with nothing. And so you have to be sure that you're looking for many different streams. And that's the same as a personal life. Like if I have a 9 to 5 and that's my only source of income and I lose that job, then what am I going to do? I'm kind of up the creek until I can find another job to replace that. But if I've set myself up to have multiple streams of income, then I'm probably not going to be as happy as I was. Well, I might be happier depending on what the job was, but I might not be as financially stable as I was. But I'll be able to feed my family. I'll be able to pay my rent. I'll be able to do everything that I need to do to sustain life until I can replace that job. And the sting of losing that job won't be nearly as as painful as if that was the only source of income that I have. And that's one of the reasons why a lot of people are looking at um, creating passive income and different forms of receiving income. Um, well, Jared, as we are wrapping up the interview, at the beginning you mentioned a couple of things that you've been working on. Um, what exciting plans or initiatives do you have in the works over the next 6 to 12 months?
Very good. So, what we're really excited about as we started the conversation, and thank you for the conversation, it's great. Um, we're really looking, we have here in our sphere of influence, there's many people that are losing their either their homes or they're getting kicked out of their apartments because of poor understanding, misunderstandings, not really having a skill set to budget. And so we're very excited about this program that we're co-writing with one of our partners, a credit union partner, called Tenant Pathway, and just creating a pathway for individuals. We have great programs and coalitions and collaboratives here in Oklahoma that work together to alleviate and deal with the homeless issues and some of the couch homeless issues. And so working with them, working as kind of a multidisciplinary team in our approach, looking at partnering with organizations like our local housing authority, which we are, and preparing to work with those in Section 8, as I said earlier, the same community that I grew up with. And so creating the curriculum and pathways and getting connected to other organizations who then turn around and help the same population that's now getting that kind of understanding and education, now helping them move into home ownership. So it's a continuum. And so that's one of the things that we're working on, same as the Justice Involved group. We're working on building, we have a curriculum, our Youth Pathway to Excellence, that I have this theory that when in Oklahoma, we have lack of plumbers, we have in workforce development, we have lack of HVAC workers, lack of electricians. And so my premise is that if we can get the 17 to 24-year-olds interested in moving in a way of pre-apprenticeships, that we can get some of them out of the system and into opportunities as pre-apprenticeships instead, which is going to greatly and vastly change their trajectory from incarceration and the Department of Corrections into moving into sustainable living for them and their families, income that will be higher than what they ever imagined. And so those are two areas, both the tenant pathway and the youth pathways were making a path. Uh, those are two programs that we're looking to really dig deeper into and launch in the next few months.
Those sound like some pretty impactful programs. If you can get them off the ground, I think you're going to do a fantastic job. Now, if somebody wants to get to know more about you, if they want to um, get involved with what you're doing, um, what is the best way for them to do that?
Well, we welcome that holistically, and we've seen a lot of growth lately. Star Foundation, of course, is STAA, two A's, Foundation. We can be found on Facebook. We can be found on LinkedIn. We have a website, www.starfoundation.org. We are on Twitter. So I can be reached also. I'm on LinkedIn. I have a Facebook page. We have we welcome all the traffic we're getting, and we've been getting a lot of traffic lately. So that's how we can be reached.
Fantastic. Well, Jared, thank you so much for your time today. Thank you for sharing your insights and some tips as to what success looks like and overcoming challenges in this life. Appreciate having you on. And guys, thank you for joining us for this episode of Success in Motion podcast. This has been a fun interview, as they all are, and we look forward to seeing you next time.
Thanks for tuning into Success in Motion. Want to share your story? Visit successinmotionpodcast.com/guest to apply and be featured on the show.